Next, the candidates will field questions about the environment. Hundreds of cities across the country, and many cities here in Oregon, have passed the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement. This agreement has been voted down twice by Salem City Council. What should be our priorities in addressing global climate change locally? What can city government do to minimize its impact here in Salem? Mr. Chapman, why don't you start?
Well, the first thing I think we ought to do is sign the mayor's agreement on climate change. It is a broad agreement. It includes no mandates. It sets some reasonable goals for us to work towards. And I think the first thing that I would suggest we do is that as a part of the budget process, that the departments of the city government submit a brief assessment of where they are in terms of climate change. I think that many cities have gone before us in this area, and there are lots of tools out there that they can look at. The governor's office has prepared a document for municipalities that we could do an assessment of. How well are we doing, and are there things that we can implement in the immediate future? And that would be the initial starting point of becoming more actively supportive of those issues.
Councilor Bennett.
I'm unfamiliar with the mayors. I'll just be honest with you right out of the chute, and it's not been in front of the council, so I'd be real interested in what it says. I did take some time to take a look at the report from the Governor's Advisory Commission, which I thought was a really interesting document, and it told me a lot about kind of what the sort of response that I hope occurs, and how, as it fits with the mayor's accords or the mayor's letters and agreements. I think that probably these are reasonably common realities with what is being talked about. It seemed to me that what we're talking about, and this shouldn't sound real new to at least people of my generation, we're talking about recycling, reusing things, conserving, investing and providing leadership. And that's the Oregon story. That's the Oregon I moved to. That's the Oregon that has been my experience in the 42 years I've lived here. And I think that as we provide that kind of leadership and follow that kind of ethic, we will assume the kind of leadership role the city should have in dealing with this environmental issue. And I think Salem, to its credit, has actually gone into action. I mean, and this is my understanding, and I know I'll be corrected by fellow councilors if I'm wrong, so I'll take a shot at it and be prepared to be corrected. But Salem has begun in the past year. It has moved 5% of its diesel into biodiesel in its transportation system, in its own transportation system. Salem is the first capital city in the country to be recognized as a green city as a result of our decision to move Salem's purchase of energy for itself, the city, to renewable energy, and then actively encourage a percentage of the citizens to purchase renewable energy. I think we have been working on brownfields in Salem. I think Salem is following the right direction. Whether it is picking up the right accoutrements along the way, whether it's agreements or anything else, I don't know. But I do believe my fellow councilors are committed to following a course of action that results in at least achieving the goals of what's being discussed in any of the documents that I've had a chance to look at. There are some shortcomings. I mean, there are some shortcomings in Salem. I think mass transit and our whole relationship with the transportation issue remains problematic, and one that needs desperately to be addressed, I think, seriously in a policy way. I think that we do have opportunities as we look at building codes and those kinds of decisions and policy directions to make a real difference in individual lives. But we also have, you know, things going on. One of the factoids I hadn't really thought about, but the largest grid-connected solar array is here in Salem at an industrial site at Kettle Foods. There are things going on here. And I think, unfortunately, and this may be the failure with not assigning on to the mayor's agreement, is that we haven't created that kind of consolidated presentation of what Salem is doing. And I think that's important too. I find that this stuff comes at me as a counselor in bits and pieces, and I'm learning it in bits and pieces. I assume for members of the public or people who are particularly interested in this issue, that kind of dribbling understanding of what Salem's doing must become kind of a Chinese water torture of information, and hopefully it will become a more consolidated statement of the
with signing it, and I think they are, as Mr. Chapman said, good goals to be working towards, and I think that it would be an example for the rest of the city, and it might help provide some cohesiveness to say, hey, this is what we're doing. And I think that it would be an excellent opportunity, an excellent starting place, I believe, for the city to show, to be an example, not just to its own residents, but to other surrounding cities.
Thank you.